Your main thesis of Foolproof, misinformation acts as a psychological virus. Can
Mm,
you flesh that out for people who may have never heard that argument
sure,
before?
sure. Yeah, and it's not just a philosophical kind of analogy. I think for me, it's been an empirical sort of journey that actually started by using models. So I guess there's three ways to think of it. One is how does misinformation kind of infect our minds in the way that viruses take over a cell, right? So one of the things they do is they hijack the host of the cell, then they sort of implant them with code to try to reproduce themselves, right? And so what's interesting for me at the individual level is like what is the point of misinformation if it doesn't reproduce itself, right? So misinformation is designed in a way to want to spread. Otherwise, it has no impact, right? If there's misinformation, nobody believes it, nobody shares it, then there's no point to it, right? So misinformation is generated in a way to try to infect people so that it can spread further. And that, it does that in lots of different ways by appealing to beliefs that you already have about the world, or leveraging existing stereotypes and prejudices, or by being extreme in some way or another. So, it has lots of ways of trying to weasel its way into your belief system. And then when it takes hold, it can actually, kind of like how viruses hijack the host of a cell, it can really take over for some people. In that we know that it distorts people's memory. I mean, there have been experiments on that. That if you tell people, about polarizing topics, whether, in the UK it was about Brexit, for example, but this has been replicated across all sort of major topics. If you tell people on one side that they saw something nasty about the other side, if they remember that from the campaign, people say, "Oh yeah, I saw that. That's totally true," but in fact, never happened. It was just a false memory that you've been confronted with, but that you readily sort of accept and integrate into your mental model. So misinformation can really distort people's memory of the world, their judgments, and sometimes direct people's behavior in shocking ways. I mean, if you look at testimony from some of the people who stormed the Capitol in the U.S., right? So,
Yeah.
um, some of them say they just, they started watching cable news nonstop. They became sort of enthralled with this conspiracy that the election was stolen, and that's all they could pay attention to. That's all they could do, and that kind of motivated them to go out and storm the Capitol. And later, they didn't really know what happened to them. If you look at some of the case files, they say, it was just, and that's very much like, you become kind of infected with an idea. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen to everyone, um, but at a low kind of psychological level, in terms of basic processes, our cognition, our perception, our intention, it gets drawn by into misinformation, and misinformation can significantly distort it.